2019 to order here at 5:30 p.m. We could have a roll call, please, Tammy?
Paul Hill.
Here.
Brett Waller.
Here.
Jeremy Ratliff.
Here.
John Smith.
Here.
Christy Stellingwood.
Here.
Maria Volpe.
Here.
Linda Yingling.
Here.
Doug Ashbeck.
Here.
Kevin Blake.
Here. We could all stand as we're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening and welcome to the Merrill Area Public Schools Board of Education meeting. MAPS respects the role our elected board members serve and the function of our board meetings. Board members and administrators are committed to working collaboratively to provide our students a safe learning environment and the highest level of achievement. This meeting is a formal event and professional conduct is the expectation for all in attendance. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Sample. Before we get to public comment to the board, we did have some public comment forms filled out, just some reminders and notes on that. The board does provide or schedule 15 minutes at the beginning of each regular meeting for members of the public to speak. Speakers will be allocated 3 minutes to address the board. If you have a larger group, please designate one representative to speak. That group would then be allowed up to 10 minutes unless an extension is provided from the board chair. Board members may ask clarifying questions only during the comment section, but will usually postpone further discussion, interaction, or action until further public input and send that to committee or future board meetings. We appreciate your participation in the school board meeting this evening. The public comment period is an important time for the board to hear the concerns of its constituents. Nevertheless, prior to making a statement during the public comment period, you may wish to consider whether the content of your speech could be harmful to an individual person, or if so, whether that person could have a legal claim against you related to the statement you're making this evening. We have been advised that the Wisconsin Supreme Court has specifically ruled that there is no absolute privilege which protects defamatory comments by speakers at board meetings such as this. Therefore, please be aware that each speaker bears the personal risk if anything he or she says during the public comment period of the school board meeting is defamatory, slanderous, or otherwise harmful to another individual. Thank you. At this time, I believe we have 4 people that would constitute the group. We would have Randy, Kendra, Tricia, and Melissa. If you have designated a speaker, or am I misreading this? Randy is separate? Okay. Then I will call on Randy to come up. Sit at the microphone, please. And understand, you understand everything that I stated on the public comment? All right, I appreciate that. If you could state your name and your topic, and you'll have the floor then, Randy.
Sure, thank you. My name is Randy Renewal. I'm here, I guess, to try and better understand the situation with Educator School, Mrs. Oginski, and her departure there and her promotion to the curriculum position, and how this has come to this point, and how we as parents can understand this process further. I have authored a letter that I have sent to the board members. Some I talked to personally, some I responded in writing to that. I have concerns in terms of her ability to make informed decisions in terms of the safety of the children. I personally have brought concerns to her as it pertained to my child and the collection of children there. In particular to one student that has been repetitively known for abusive and bullying type behaviors. If I'm correct, I understand that this same child just recently, in the last couple of days, which I just learned of moments before coming to the meeting tonight, was surrounded by 4 different teachers on the playground in order to regain his control. I'm not certain if the police department was called or not. But this same child is being persistent with my child in the classroom in terms of just nitpicking type behaviors, but it's getting to a point here where I'm telling my son that if push comes to shove, you have the right to defend yourself, and I will deal with the system and the schools and everybody else thereafter. I have gotten no help from Mrs. Oginski on this. I've been placated every time I try to attempt to have a conversation with her. She knows who I am as a father. She knows my profession. So I try to work with the community who knows around me, and mostly with those to ensure that our children are seen and protected. I would not hold the position that I currently hold within our community if that was not the case. As it relates to Mrs. Byer being relieved from the classroom for her duration, I explained that in the letter to the board, but I think it's, for public comment. We did not know about this at all until my child came home and started expressing his concerns about it. And we started asking questions, and I started making phone calls. And I don't get responses from Ms. Oginski. She doesn't return phone calls. She doesn't return emails. Mr. Sampler did return a call. We did have a conversation. I explained that in that email. But I still feel as though the parents were left in the dark on that. And I question how we have gotten to a point where if she cannot oversee a elementary school in the position of principal, how she is then promoted to the position of curriculum. So I guess in a nutshell, that's really why I'm here and what I want to be able to understand going forward, in hopes that the board, has information, because I understand the board doesn't always have information from the public or from the parents. And I understand that there's always an argument to be made on the other side as well. So, with that being said, I think that's all I want to address at this time.
Thank you, Randy. Do any board members have any clarifying questions? Or, as stated at the beginning, we're not looking for dialogue. Any clarifying questions on Randy's statement? Seeing none, thank you for your time this evening. Next, I would call up, which I believe they clarified for me, were a group which is Kendra, Tricia, and Melissa. Have you guys designated a spokesperson? Excellent. Certainly all come together, and you'll have you can pull up another chair, certainly.
Pull up a chair.
That would be perfectly fine. It does.
We thank you as well for your time tonight. I know you've seen our faces before as well. Come to you as concerned parents. Just want what's best for our kids. We want to help the school system. We want just health in general for our teachers, for our kids, for the school, and really I think that's our strength as parents, is we just come together. We want to be a part of that collaborative team to really making a difference in our schools and for our kids. I think just kind of, I guess as I was contemplating what I was going to say tonight, I think I just really kept coming back to a work in progress. And I look at our district as a work in progress, but I look at us as individuals as work in progress too. And really the whole goal was for us to raise really healthy kids, and also to become healthier ourselves. And so I think that's our goal too, is that we provide an environment for teachers, for parents, and for kids that's healthy. We do have some concerns, similar to your last speaker, lack of communication. We've kind of shared some things and also sent emails as well. Just a very authoritative approach to the school and to our kids, to the teachers, that we're very concerned about. And then also a teach to the test mentality, which maybe we haven't brought up as much, but there's been things like the elimination of recess time, just quiet time during lunch. The kids are not allowed to speak for a good portion of their lunchtime, and we just feel like the kids, and we want to give them an opportunity to have a little downtime during their day, because we expect so much of them as well. I think I sent the outline to each of you as board members with lots of bullets. We did meet with Dr. Sample last night, and asked from him a plan of action. We'd like to be a part of that plan of action. He so eloquently pointed out the triangle of student, family, and then school. And I feel like as parents, we want to be an integral part of that triangle. We also, I guess, our goals are just transparency, that we're honest with each other and transparent about the process, that we collaborate together, that we're part of that team, and then also accountability to each of us as individuals. And I know this is going to be a coming together of forces, everybody's got to give a little, but that includes administration, and there's been a lot of concerns with administration too. So work in progress. We're all continuing to become
Okay, yeah.
ongoing positive approach and
yeah.
work together.
Yeah, we want to stay positive and we want to be part of that process, so.
And we appreciated Dr. Sample meeting with us last night, and he did say that he would get back to us in a couple weeks with a plan of action. So we feel like, we're being heard, and that's positive, and we just want that to continue to transpire throughout the entire process.
So
All right.
we're all willing to be a part of whatever to help make that happen.
Absolutely. All right, that's it. Thank
you,
you for your
ladies.
time.
Any clarifying questions from board members? Hearing none. Thanks again. Appreciate your comments and concerns. Next on our agenda, we'll move into the recognition. I believe our departing student board representative, Abe Akey, is still on a field trip. I didn't see him sneak in here yet. We certainly would like to thank him publicly here at this meeting for his service, and we'll make sure I get to Mr. Murray some recognition, a plaque for him. At this time also, we'd like to recognize for her first year as our student representative, Bella Troyer. You'd like to say about your experience in your first year here on put you on the spot right away, Bella?
Well, it's a really great opportunity, and I've been loving it so far, and it's really nice to be able to share what the high school is doing with everyone and keep everyone connected. What's going on.
Thank you again. Much appreciated. Although I don't see her or know that she was able to be here this evening, our next recognition is for Desiree Hoff. She's being recognized as a Merrill Area Public Schools Project Search intern. This is the first year for the Project Search program. This program is a collaboration between CESA 9, Aspirations, Wausau, and surrounding school districts. Desiree has completed various rotations through the Aspira system and has been an integral part of the Project Search program success. We wish her the best as she graduates from the Project Search program. Next on our agenda tonight will be the announcement of the new student school board representative for 2019-2020 school year. We're turning that over to Mr. Murray, or are you unveiling that information?
Mr. Murray King.
Excellent. Mr. Murray, would
It's
you?
my pleasure to introduce to you Merrill High School sophomore, Levi Black, if Levi can stand up. He's an outstanding student. The process that we use to get a student rep is we ask for recommendations from our counselors and staff. And Levi's name kept rising to the top, and so talked to his family and Levi to see if he can join us, and understood the commitment, and he said, yes, he's dying to help us. I'll turn it, so Levi, maybe you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Levi. School is pretty fun. This would be interesting because I'd be able to put them thoughts and hear what I have to say. Just be interesting.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. At this point in our agenda, I would like to ask Bella for the student board representative report for this evening.
Okay, so in the category of spring sports, softball conference season ended yesterday for Merrill, and we ended with a conference record of 5-7. Soccer conference ends next week for Merrill, and their record is 1-9. Baseball conference ends next week as well with their conference record at 4-7. And boys golf is in 4th for conference, and track and field is in 7th. On stage was on Monday, the 13th, and classes had the option to see the matinee during school hours, and the final performance was at 7 that night. On stage consisted of a group pieces, solos, and group acts, and there was a lot of people that showed up, and they did really good. AP testing started last week and is underway, and students are working really hard and doing their best right now. The mock crash will be this Friday, as long as weather allows it, and it will be at J Stadium around 1:45, and there will be a different school scheduled to accommodate this. The seniors' last day is next Wednesday, the 22nd. Senior Awards Night is that same day at 7 in the auditorium at the high school. It is a chance to honor the seniors and reward them for what they have done, and as well as present them with scholarships they have earned. Graduation is on Friday, May 24th at 6 p.m. in the high school field house.
Excellent, thank you, Bella. Any questions from board members for Bella tonight?
I guess feedback from the last meeting that you asked about the Wi-Fi stuff. We are looking into that.
Okay.
Checking it out. Yeah, so just thought, because I don't know if you ever want to follow up on stuff that you've asked of us, but we've been pretty, so.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Bella. Thanks, board members, for your follow-up and comments. Next, I'll turn it over to Dr. Sample for the administrative reports. Dr. Sample?
The spotlight on education this month focused on educator effectiveness, which is our evaluation tool for teachers, and then the goals and aspirations for next school year. This will be the last time probably to see the spotlight on education in this format. I'll get to that a little bit later when I get to the superintendent's report. But you can see the various progress. All of the teacher evaluations must be done by the last day of school. There's year one new teacher, year two new teacher, year three new teacher, and then once you're an old teacher in year four, you've also repeat that again with year one, year two, and then a summary, a summative. And so, for example, even at Kate Goodrich broke theirs down a little bit, that 39 staff are being evaluated, and 25 of those teachers are in their summary year. So there's a little bit more that goes into the evaluations for summary year. All of Pine River's teachers are on the same cycle. It can be good, and it can be busy as well, but they're all in their summative evaluation year 3 for educator effectiveness. And then you kind of see some of the plans moving forward. Any questions at all about that progress? Everything has to be done by the last day of school, and then Ryan Martinovich is assisting with our rollover that takes place mid-July for everybody. I evaluate all central office and building administrators, and it's the same timeline for myself too.
Mr. Smith?
I had a question, and in fact, it was the Kate Goodrich data. That's a good segue to a question I had throughout the week. 39 staff, 25 this year. What's the administrative staffing level at Kate Goodrich? Because that, I mean, as compared to like Jefferson and Washington, is there
Teacher to administrator?
Teacher to, I guess, evaluator, principal.
It's, if you take what Brad Potter and Shannon Murray are doing at the high school, she's got 2 less teachers to evaluate. She's second only to Brad Potter and Shannon Murray by 2.
So I guess that was part of my question is, so as compared to like Washington and Jefferson, was she like 3 times greater, or what's a?
Almost
ballpark?
2 times greater, almost
2
double.
times. Is that, I guess in your estimation, a good thing to have happening to the administrator at Kate Goodrich by comparison to her colleagues? Like,
Correct.
just because I assume that not only is it that number of evaluations, you have that many more parent contacts, you have that many more, there's no one else hiding in the woodwork of Kate Goodrich to
No.
deal with this?
And like our other buildings, they have half a counselor. And so, yeah, for adults, kind of let the cat out of the bag for my superintendent's report, but you'll see at cabinet meetings for quite some time, we're looking for additional support for both high school and Kate Goodrich. And so that's going to be, I want to go into depth with that at the HR Finance or Finance HR Committee level.
Gotcha.
And look at making that happen. That also fits in with Mr. Dasher's smarter school spending framework, as well as what Auden says for ratios. And so, no, that's an excellent point, and we are addressing that. We plan to address that in detail in the very near future, the next committee level.
Well, you took all my other comments, because
Sorry.
I'll see you in HR, right? Committee?
That's right, we're on the same wavelength, so I appreciate that.
Any other questions, Dr. Sample, on the topic?
Jill Seaman has attached her Pine River School for Young Learners, the report, their monthly report. Nothing out of the ordinary there at all, and I know that you've all been able to take a look at that. For the update on the Youth Apprenticeship Program and the update on the full-time sub position at Merrill High School, I have poured over these reports and everything else, but I know it's a source of pride for Mr. Murray, so I'd ask Mr. Murray to come on up and share both of these agenda items.
Hello.
I don't know how much I'll expand on my report. I think the report was actually pretty clear. The big change on the youth apprenticeship coming into this school year is that for many, many years, we've been part of a consortium of NPC, which represented a number of school districts working together to run a youth apprenticeship program. So we were part of that program until our numbers got large enough where we could break off and be our own consortium. And it was certainly incentive for us to do that financially and local control-wise. And so we did that, and this is our first year doing that. In the process, we kind of took this opportunity to kind of reevaluate our youth apprenticeship program and make sure that it's aligned with our mission and as rigorous as we expect it to be. And so through that process, particularly this winter, we looked at some tweaks that we're going to make over the summer to make sure that we have students that are motivated to pursue school to career opportunities versus maybe just time off of school. And so there's a enhanced educational value to that. And so I kind of highlighted the changes that are coming with that, coming into the next school year. We would expect our numbers to dip a little bit, which we're prepared for, but we believe the quality of that student will be much higher, and the program will be better for them. So we continually hear that we have the biggest youth apprenticeship program in the state of Wisconsin, which is a tribute to Mel Kunkel and the other people, so they're our employers in our community. And so we just want to make sure that we take this time now that we're on our own to really tighten up and make sure that it's what we want it to be. Any questions?
Mr. Drew, had a
Maybe you have increased staffing for this?
Really
You
kind of
go down
nominal.
on NPC,
Yes.
what do they supply for staffing down to that place?
So we did two things. We have a part-time coordinator, which is Karen Aiken. And Karen Aiken was a NPC career coach that she recommended. So she's part-time, and then we also have a very, very part-time Paul Aiken that helps us with some of our PI and non-grant activities. Here, more chemical. So Karen's job is to build the relationships and maintain the relationships with employers, and then make sure that the students are being placed in career schools.
Mr. Smith?
Subject that's maybe directed for both Mr. Murray and Dr. Sample. The sub-aid program is a success. I mean, looks like you're saving money, and there's 0 canceled classes.
We almost had one today.
Almost doesn't
We had
count.
to report on it. We did.
I guess the question is this applicable in the middle school, in the grade schools? Because if it's saving money and it's producing a better product, it seemed to me, is there parallels between the other environments?
Sure, still applicable, not as easily done, I think, because of high school classes and periods and the way they work. A coach could be out for a couple of classes, and then that sub would fill in there. They could fill in for 3 or 4 teachers throughout the day, but certainly applicable. And so the high school is going to run this as a pilot program. It's proven to be successful. We do have a sub shortage, and so we are going to be looking at exploring this option in the future, especially with the savings that we've had.
Is that something then that we would see again show up like at a HR finance committee or
That'd be HR finance, 'cause it has to do with personnel, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Murray, or do you have other things you'd like to add on the full-time sub position topic summary that you provided tonight?
Other than it's gone very well, it's exceeded our expectations. Sylvia's afforded us a little flexibility that we haven't had previously with the sub shortage. Our biggest limitation has been on getting when we need the LGI for other things, for using the spider testing or AP testing this week. And so on those days, we have to limit the use of the AP space. And so, but it's gone very well. I think it's been effective as far as the teachers working with the AP, make sure the lessons are meaningful. We have an outstanding young man that's doing it now. Unfortunately, he's going back to college and his teaching certification for it. Fortunately for him. And we'll also be posting that, but it's just been very, very positive. It has certainly changed Monday on some mornings. Frantic and very calm.
Calm is good.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Mr. Murray.
The next report comes to us from Karen Baker. She attended her spring WCASS conference and did a write-up about the keynote speaker there. Karen was the, WCASS stands for the Wisconsin Council of Administrators of Special Services. And she's a former officer in that state council, so that's always something to be very proud of. And you can see attached there's an article that the keynote speaker authored. It's talking about the culture of humility, and then the article talks about ring theory and how to deal with trauma. So very informative, and we appreciate Karen bringing back information when she attends conferences, just like all of our administrators. Next, you'll see the HR report. Probably one of the biggest, well, a lot of big things going on this time of the year is the recruitment and the hiring processes. Our new HR director, Eddie Ben, he did, this is past tense now at this point, but not at the time the report was written, he was able to play an integral part in the hiring of his HR assistant, which we don't always have that opportunity when we have two people starting at about the same time. But he did free up his time to be able to come over and be a part of that interview process. Health insurance renewal, that'll take place over the next few weeks. Glad that we got that increase to a very, very minimal increase. There's going to be some transition with HR. We did all have the opportunity at the cabinet level to meet Eddie then, and also at the alt meeting. He was able to attend, so he met all of our building administrators. And that should do it for that portion of HR. Next, you have the food service participation update. I know in speaking with Kevin Blake would be interested, I think we're all going to be interested in having perhaps Brian Dasher report out once we get all the data for the end of the year and we start comparing the full year's data to past years, and we can see how we've increased or decreased and what we've done with price changes and things. So we'll look for a little bit more detailed report following once school's out. Also have attached Brian's monthly budget update. Any questions for Brian on his update? Next is Kesha's report. Very all-inclusive. Apple Professional Learning, Wisconsin Educational Media and Technology Association Conference that was attended. The iPad deployment update went very well, very successful. I can't thank her and her team enough. They went through and deployed every student and teacher with iPads. I got mine just recently, and it was a very, very good process, and I think the board can attest to that. A few bumps along the way because the iPad is not the old iPad, and so I know that our students and our teachers have to update some of the things that they may have had on their old iPad, but that's to be expected. Summer device plan with the digital challenge, as well as the Secretary MSI Day collaboration, book fair, Grandparent STEAM Day, and summer school communication is all included in Kesha's report. Any potential questions for Kesha on any portion of her report?
Not a question, but a comment. The 81 grandparent thing was extremely encouraging to see. I mean, just as a community member, I think it's awesome to see those members of the community brought into our school system and collaborating, so
And I have
it had to be pretty good.
To Tricia Dieter and Emily Smith for that. We have a strong makerspace over there and always want to try to expose everyone, including grandparents, so that they can understand the way students learn in today's world. So I have to give credit to them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kesha.
And then finally, on my superintendent's report, you can see my calendar, those things that I attended. Well, I highlighted Men in the Kitchen. I didn't want to go too deep into that in my first place finish because of the other participants there. It was not a contest, but everybody won. We served tables of 8.
That's
Jeremy
debatable.
Rath was also there. And everybody did a wonderful job, and I didn't hear any complaints from any of the people that we served.
Not yet, anyway.
And nobody got sick, at least that evening. Mine was a Mexican fiesta, and yours was? Very complicated.
7-layer lasagna.
Yeah, it was 7 to 12-layered lasagna. They looked awesome. They tasted awesome, too. The adoptive board member is one of the things I know we had touched on. Once a board member is assigned to a building, that building principal would send an invite to that board member when events are scheduled, and also that they should feel free to touch base with that building. So that's the whole purpose of it, is to get to know what's going on with operations of buildings, as well as what's going on with administrators and teachers. I'm going to defer to Kevin as to how he wishes to assign. Some of the recommendations that I would have, though, that it could be potentially rotational, so that your time as a board member, you can get to know most of our buildings, those types of things. I know Maple Grove is an outlier, but if you live out closer to Maple Grove, that may work for you too. So you're going to be hearing a lot more about that. I'll leave the assignments and that process to Kevin Blake, and then I'll make sure to follow up on the administrative side of things to make sure that we have a solid process going forward. That's the other thing. And speaking of solid processes, we did visit Chippewa Falls. The Chippewa Falls administration is also a Studer education. They contract with Studer Education. So there's a lot in common between the two districts. They are a lot bigger than us, and their board follows a coherent policy leadership model. And so despite that, though, some of the things that we've learned from them were not very different as far as the way we structure our leadership meetings, how often we meet, for how long we meet, and what we meet about. Some of the differences, though, is the way they report out to their board. And I think the board's going to enjoy me moving away from the spotlight on education and moving more into data, having very consistent reports that tie directly into our strategic plan, as well as a huge focus on our district scorecard. And so look for changes in the future. We're going to roll it out as early as next month, and start. So you'll start to see some changes, and then we'll tweak it as we go too, because we want the board to be informed with exactly what's going on with our students. We don't want any surprises. We'll have special reports coming as we test MAP testing 3 times a year and those types of things. The reports around ACT, Aspire. So rather than report the same thing out on every February, it's going to look a little bit different, and it's going to have a stronger focus on our district scorecard, because that's the way we measure ourselves. Also, with mentioning Studer Education, we've been invited to present at the What's Right in Education Conference in Milwaukee. That's a big deal because they waive our registration fees for everybody that's in attendance, and it's been well attended by our administrative team. We're going to be talking about our cultural playbook and how Tim Kite has played a role, Focus 3 has played a role with the culture and the climate, and the way we're going to roll out our playbook. And so Melissa and those at Studer Education thought that was pretty special, and so we're very pleased to accept their invitation to present at this coming summer's conference. And finally, those of you that participated in the 8th grade exit interviews, you already know how beneficial that is for our students. I had just had some really great kids. They prepared very well for it. It's a great process. It's something that they can expect as they get older. and very, very impressed with the overall process of how seriously our 8th graders took it. I know that Ryan Martinovich, Mark Seaman place a very, very high value on that, and students will continue with their 8th grade interviews until they all succeed, and he's holding very firm to that. So it's great to be a part of that process. And then, John, you were probably reading some of the cabinet meeting agendas that I've listed below. And even as early as the fall, we had tossed around the idea of additional associate principals, especially when it comes to educator effectiveness, accountability, and being able to instructionally coach our teachers. It seems like we've gotten away from that, and that's the primary reason is building safety and instructional coaching that we've, administrators, the role of the administrator always had. And so, of course, teacher evaluations play a huge role in that, and unfortunately, student discipline plays a huge role in that, and those are really more of a reactive, and we'd like to get more proactive, so we'll be hearing more at the committee level with that, and hopefully forward something to the board at the next board meeting. And that concludes my portion of the administrative reports.
Thank you, Dr. Sample. We'll go next into the committee reports.
I have a question.
You have a question first? Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
The new reports that are coming in regards to student achievement, will those become the baseline for the budget redesign? Because from my understanding, the budget redesign is going to be basically achievement reports as compared to our budget investment. So is that all being connected together?
It's all going to be connected. You know, we're taking it very seriously moving forward when we talk about academic return on investment. And let's even fast forward and say that we've got a couple of associate principals. It's not just a matter of plugging those people in and saying, whew, we're good now, because we've reduced the evaluation load or whatever. No, we're going to follow that, and that's going to be the strategy line, and we're going to see how is that affecting student achievement, because everything that we do has to affect student achievement. So we're going to be focusing a lot on academic return on investment, because that's what the Chippewa board holds Heidi responsible. She's responsible for the operations, and in turn, the board needs to see exactly what the academic return on investment is in order to be able to approve or deny any future board action. So yes, it's all going to be intertwined. It goes with social emotional growth of students. That goes with the safety of our buildings, obviously, always. Student achievement, it incorporates everything, culture and climate, because all of those play a role in student achievement.
So as it gets launched next month, that'll lay the ground, because our actual budget is for like 2021, right?
That's correct.
So we're going to be accumulating a lot of data ahead of the new budget design,
right,
leading up to it.
Next month is going to be our first shot at getting away from the spotlight on education. It's also going to be kind of a closing out the year, because I'm going to share the parent survey results, the employee engagement results, survey results, and the district services survey results. So it's an end in a way, but it's also going to be a start. We're going to get ahead of it before the new budget, new fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Before we move on, any other questions for Dr. Sample? Thank you. Next item on our agenda would be the board and membership committee appointments for 2019-2020. We had some updates on some committees. Some people requested, board members requested to expand their knowledge base and different representation as it goes to each committee. I took that all into consideration best I could. There's also an attached 2019-2020 committee membership purpose and meeting dates form. Please review that. Tammy will send out additional scheduling requests and reminders. With that, for our new policy 0155, there's been some updates on that. So before I ask for the recommended motion, there is a new category in there. If you notice under the attached committee appointments, people may be asking what the SA means underneath the assigned people. That is a suggested alternative or alternate for that is people that asked to be on that particular committee. Maybe they already had too many assignments or other things going on that I said, if they have interest, we should know that, because per the new policy, they could be called in to sub, and who's willing and wants to be there would be a great starting point. So I added that category on there, and I will be working on adoptive board. That will be coming out soon. With that said, there is a recommended motion. Could I have a motion this evening?
I'll recommend a motion to approve the appointments made by the superintendent for committee membership for the 2019-2020 school year.
I'll second.
Motion by John, second by Maria. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. The next item would be the Curriculum Technology Pupil Services Committee, as we affectionately call the CTP Committee. We have the draft minutes included from the last meeting of May 8th, 2019. The committee chair, Maria Volpe, and other members of that committee are available for questions. Anybody have any questions? Mr. Smith?
Madam Chair, one. The follow-up on students leaving the district, is that still in a process development phase where you don't have data yet, or?
We do not have data yet, Karen. I don't know if you want to come up and talk about that at all. Please.
Thank you, Karen.
With that, what we're doing is developing the process, and it's a perfect time to do this with the creation of Dale's assistant. That's going to allow my assistant who works on enrollment to be able to take on that. And so she will start as far as enrollment as soon as we roll over our students, then July 1st.
Okay.
In fact, we just met today to talk about our system.
Well, that then, so on a different document later in the agenda, we have like the 19 students that are open and rolling out, and then there's 90 that are open and rolled out in total. Is it your intention to go back and track each one of those 90, or I guess how far, what kind of data would we expect to see?
Excuse me, any final data from open enrollment won't be until after the third Friday count.
Okay.
Because throughout that whole process, and I'll just speak to it now, we have to notify families by June 7th as to whether they've been accepted or not in the program. And then the parents have actually up to the second or the third Friday count to commit to the school. Each family may apply to 3 different schools. So all of the numbers that you get right now from the enrollment are tentative numbers.
So like, I guess the question would be like sometime in November then, right? Because I think that's in October, third Friday.
No,
September. What the data is reported for that date.
So when that comes out in September, then we'll have final numbers.
Okay, and then the numbers, if there was, say, 20 that finally open rolled out this year, the board would receive the number and then where they went and why? Would that be the type of reporting back that we would expect?
Or as much information as you could gather as to the why.
Right, and then we would need to have discussion with the CTP as to what that would look like for open session versus closed session.
Pretty similar to exit interviews for employees. Yeah. The difficult part is tracking them down. I know we had some conversation in that committee, and Kesha has a tough time even getting iPads back and trying to locate where the family is to get iPads. So, but we'll get as much information as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Any additional questions for our CTP committee? All right. Thank you. The next item on the agenda, we'll be talking about the Finance HR Committee. The draft minutes were attached from the last meeting, which was May 1st, 2019. John Smith, the chair of Finance HR Committee, is available, as well as any other members of that committee for questions. Anyone have any questions for Finance HR Committee at this time? Any comments you would like to add, Mr. Smith?
There is. A comment.
Imagine that.
Surprise, right? In that packet, you're going to see a link, and it links to this document right here, and I'm going to harp on this until the day we pass it. This is a development draft document that Brian Dasher is working on, and it is an all-inclusive summary of where we are as an organization in regards to outcomes and in regards to finance. So if you like data, and you ought like data, there's great examples of graphs, charts, where we place within the district as compared to other school systems. There's a scattergram in here that it shows how much money is being spent here as in compared to other districts and the outcomes of the other districts. So some districts are spending less and getting more, some districts are spending more and getting less. So what I encourage you to do is read through the document, because as I'm reading through it, it really paints the entire picture of where we are at current state. And as we develop this budget process, if this isn't kind of like inwardly digested, we won't be having great discussions as we adopt it, because when we get to the point of where it's finished and ready for adoption, that'll be what's being proposed. Is we are going to ask the Board of Education to adopt this procedure moving forward, meaning academic return on investment and knowing all the data before we invest the money is how we budget from this point forward. So it's kind of a turning point, and so the more you can prep for it, you'll get just as excited as I am about it, I promise. So.
Well, that's an awful big statement, John.
I'm serious. It'll just become overwhelming for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Smith. Seeing no other questions or discussion points on the Finance HR Committee, let's move on to the Facilities Committee. Attached were the draft minutes from the last meeting of May 1st, 2019. Myself as the chair and other members of that committee are available to field any questions or discussion topics. Does anyone have any discussion for the Facilities Committee at this time? Hearing none, let's move on to unfinished business. The first item in unfinished business is the approval of the 2019-2020 summer maintenance projects. This item was tabled at the last board meeting. Just for further committee review, that topic sheet was attached from Dale Bergman with the recommended motion. Do I have a motion this evening? Mr. Smith.
Recommend a motion to approve the listed summer maintenance projects for the 2019-2020 school year as funding allows.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Mr. Ratliff. Any discussion on the motion of this topic?
I have a couple questions.
Question? Dale, could you come up to the microphone? Perhaps Dr. Sample or Dale or any member of the Facilities Committee can help answer, but Linda, you have the floor.
So I guess, just a couple questions with the report you got here. So you have the projects listed, the initial budget costs, and then bids required. So are only the items on this spreadsheet the ones that are checked with the X, meaning they need bids are required on those?
Not necessarily. Some of them may be budgeted just per room or accumulation room or something like that. The question that we asked last week is, did they meet our new policy regarding purchasing? And we reviewed that at the Facilities Committee and determined yes to do. So it was just, as I looked through the list, I was just checking out.
Okay, I was just wondering if that meant something as in that a bid was gone out for those items, or it just was checked off as in being completed?
No, just that we discussed them at the Facilities Committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Dale. Do you have any other discussion or questions on the motion? Otherwise, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. Next on the agenda will be our Board of Education business. The First item you see on there is approval of the Reading Recovery Consortium contracts. It's been brought to my attention that there's some more homework needed on that, so we're gonna look to table that. Could I have a motion to table that agenda item?
So moved.
We have a motion by Maria, second by Paul. All those in favor of the motion to table signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries to table accordingly. Next item on our agenda tonight is the Network Systems Administrator Compensation Schedule with an attached topic summary sheet from Brian Dasher, Finance HR Committee recommended motion. Do we have a motion this evening? Maria?
I move to approve the Network System Administrator salary schedule and the placement of Michael Lynn on Step B of the schedule for the 2019-2020 school year and Step D of the 2020-2021 school year.
Motion by Maria. Do I have a second? Second by Nubbs. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries on a voice vote. The next item of Board of Education business is the Bridges Virtual Academy, or BVA, staffing adjustment. There's an attached topic summary sheet from Brian Dasher and a recommended motion from the Finance HR Committee. Do we have a motion this evening? Maria?
I'd recommend a motion, or I'd move to approve the proposed staffing adjustments for Bridges Virtual Academy for the 2019-2020 school year to include renaming Administrator to Executive Director, revise Elementary Coordinator contract by renaming its position to Assistant Director, and categorize into new MAP's administrative salary structure. Approve 30-hour extended contract to BVA teachers who serve as teacher advisor, and create secondary coordinator contract position.
We have a motion by Maria. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jeremy. Any discussion or questions on the motion or topic? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Next item we have is the approval of the MADA, the Merrill Area Adult Diploma Academy Contract Renewal for 2019-2021 and the 2019 to 2020 MADA calendar with an attached topic summary sheet from Shannon Murray. There is a recommended motion. Do we have a motion this evening? Nubbs?
I recommend a motion to approve the renewal of the Merrill Adult Diploma Academy Charter School contract for the 2019 to 21 school year and approve the 2019-20 MADA calendar.
Motion by Nubbs. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Second by Maria. Any discussion or questions?
Where are we at on the facility?
We're right on time. Dale, what's the update for getting things where we need to get them? for the
Dale,
new
could you come
facility?
up to the microphone, please? Anything you'd like to add, Shannon, please come up to the microphone as well. Thank you, both.
Well, this is the building over the old ward plant, right? That we're talking about?
That is the former building that we are
Okay,
moving out
we're
of.
out of it? That was
We
my
are
question.
working
Where
on the
we going?
transition, and Dale and Shannon will speak as to where we're headed and where that stands in transition.
So today I received the draft lease from the city of Merrill. We're looking at using the former Richmond Center location in the basement of City Hall for space for MADA. So we have meeting a couple times with Mr. Ray, myself, and interested parties at the city, the network specialists. Tomorrow we're meeting there with them again and the MTC people to review the requirements they have. We've been given a list of testing room requirements for Pearson VIII testing, stuff like that. It goes all in there, and we rolled it all into a big old ball and drafted a lease for that. So that's going to town council June 5th, I think, or 22nd, whichever day that is. But we'll have our part of it at the facilities committee June 5th, and we should have hopefully a recommendation from the board to go to the board for approval. Between that day and the board meeting, the city should have gentleman's agreement that we could start preparing some things because we need to be back in business July 15th.
Yeah.
So, and we have around the 4th, the week of the 4th, to vacate the premise at the current.
We have a question, when it first came about, was the parking issue. Has that been satisfied, is that gonna get blindsided, when all of a sudden said, we can't bring all these people to park the car?
Yeah, we talked to them as well. We have a city lot across the street down there. They'll have parking for our staff, which are 2 vehicles on either the west side of the facility or the north side of the facility, and there's that been addressed as well with them. The folks from NTC also have to submit pictures of the parking lots and logistics and stuff to the person review testing things by the required as well. So they'll be down there taking pictures tomorrow as well to submit that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Any other questions while we have Dale and Shannon at the table? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. We do have a motion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Say nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda this evening is the approval of open enrollment applications. There was information, or topic summary sheet provided by Karen Baker. She's available for any questions we may have. There is a recommended motion. Do we have a motion this evening?
Recommend a motion to approve the 19 new students indicating open enrollment out of MAPS.
Hold on, you just add this first one.
Either one
Oh,
first, but
whoops.
we'll do both, one at a time, please.
Yep. I recommend a motion to approve the 333 new students open enrolling to MAPS, denying the 7 applications that do not meet open enrolling into a district criteria, and also approve the 617 open enrolled students continuing at MAPS. And I recommend a motion to approve the 19 new students indicating open enrollment out of MAPS, and also approve the 90 open enrolled students continuing to open enroll out of MAPS.
Second.
Second by Maria. Karen, are we all right, or Dr. Sample, to do that in one combined motion, or would you prefer 2 separate motions? That is fine. Any questions or discussions on the topic or that motion? Nubs?
Is this an increase or a decrease or?
For BVA, I know it's an increase. John, you're, while it's tricky because, as Karen stated earlier, we've got, parents have 3 options, and they don't have to decide on those options until much later. So they decide on the options during the open enrollment period. They decide on which option they choose much later. So while John can't put a specific number, he can get within, your formula has you within about 5 to 10 students. If you want to increase to 650 or 670, you can get pretty darn close, right?
Right, we, back in January, we increased the capacity, but we still accept more than that capacity because we know that we're gonna say no. So the initial letters will go out, I think we'll probably send 320 letters or something like that. And then probably 250 or so will say yes. And then we also have, people who decline, and we have a waiting list in some grade levels, so it's just kind of a back and forth process until September, which is difficult to plan with, but it's a good problem to have more than you have room for.
Your calls will be starting where they are on the list and they are notified of that, and then multiple calls will come in to see if they've moved on the list. So that's a process that'll really go until for the Friday come.
And overall, it should be an increase.
It should be an increase.
Yeah, I
it's a
think
purposeful increase.
my projection is we'll be around 800 to 825 students, and then this year we're at 7, I think right now we're around 700.
And then, for the students that are going out, 19 is the decline from last year. I can share just preliminary looking, that, some of those are their families who work in the surrounding areas. And the previous number of students that we had approved to continue to move out, we did do a search on those. And the majority number, so that increases. But their families that really have no conflict with us based upon always either moving or choosing an online, because there are a chunk of the families that prefer the online method. And I should say too, that in our open enrollment with BDA, once one family member is admitted, then the following year, the rest of the siblings then are able to apply.
Yeah, they're prioritized ahead of anybody else.
Paul, did you have a question?
Financial ones, what does this do? These people aren't part of us, but they're eliminated. Does that go against us some way? Is there a count?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
I think since most of them are BVA, it's a wash. Because the district benefits from the BVA open enrolled kids financially. So since we're replacing them, typically, I don't think we've ever not replaced what we had to replace. We're kind of in the same position. Usually we end up going higher. I know there's other students, like Karen was saying, that open enroll out, but I think the large number of EVA, because of that, is really kind of a, there's a negligible loss of revenue, if anything.
That was well explained. Mr. Dasher, anything you'd like to add on that financial question? I think it was handled properly. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions for Karen or for John? Or any other discussion or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries. Next on the agenda is our community conversation outcomes. Look to Dr. Sample, if you'd like to highlight any of the updates on the outcomes.
Well, my summary this month is short and sweet. I don't want to draw your attention away from the progress that each one of our buildings have made. So once again, we've highlighted areas, and we've covered 9 different areas this time. What I want to do at the next board meeting is, that's when we're going to have participants from the strategic planning meeting come and present and kind of showcase the work that we did over those 3 nights to bring us up to where we are. And then that's going to equal our strategic plan, so that'll be officially rolled out at the next board meeting. I'm going to be working for that June board meeting too, of changing this format a little bit too, because I do want to incorporate the topics that came out of that being holistic approach to children, student and staff safety, social, emotional, those types of things. And so I'm still trying to figure out the format for that, because I'm not going to lose sight of our original community conversation progress, but I also want to be able to show our new strategic planning goals in a way that we don't get them confused. And so while it's not necessarily a new direction, it's an add-on, is what it is. So I'll be working on that format for the next board meeting. And I'm open to suggestions.
Any questions or discussion on our community conversation outcomes and that attached topic summary? An explanation by Dr. Sample. From Dr. Sample. Thank you. Hearing none, before I ask for the motion for a consent agenda, does anyone have any items they would like pulled this evening from the consent agenda? Nubs?
Yeah, in the donations, I'd like to pull my donation to the fishing club. I abstained from it, is what I'm saying.
We will note that after.
Yeah,
We'll note that after the.
I don't want to take it back, I just abstained from that.
All right, we'll make that note after we have the appropriate motion. Is there somebody willing to read the recommended motion tonight for consent agenda?
Either way. I'll go ahead. I think I'm overdue. I motion to approve the consent agenda items A through F, which includes the second readings of policy 8420, school safety and emergency preparedness, and policy 8462.01, threats of violence. Minutes of the April 17th, 2019 April 22nd, 2019, May 6th, 2019, and May 8th, 2019 meetings. Claims, vouchers, and receipts totaling $2,798,669.50. The personnel report, which includes the hirings of Carrie Koss, special education aide, effective August 27, 2019, Kevin Lenz, special education aide, effective August 27, 2019. Beth Scholl, PRMS special education aide, effective May 5th, 2019. Joshua Wilson, MHS social studies teacher, effective August 20th, 2019. Susan Pockel, CEO, Central Office HR Assistant, effective June 3rd, 2019. And Christopher Hahn, PRMS Literacy and Social Studies teacher, effective August 20th, 2019. The resignations of Christine Kimmons, MADA Secretary, effective July 19th, 2019. And Vanessa Bors, Kate Goodrich teacher, effective June 14th, 2019. And the recognition of donations received for the Great Speaker Committee totaling $3,710, and other donations received totaling $1,440.
Second.
Motion by John, a second by Merrill. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
I'd like to abstain from the May 6th meeting minutes.
Jeremy, any abstentions this evening around May 6th?
Oh, yes, sorry. Abstained from the May 6th meeting as well.
Thank you. And Nubs, would you like to clarify your abstention?
I'd like to abstain from my donation.
All right. Thank you.
But they can keep the fishing rod.
But they can keep that. Motion carries with the appropriate abstentions. Thank you. Items for future meetings. We'll go through that. We see the attached running list, and we've checked a number of them off. I'm going to work with the administration and board members on this process. We're asked to prioritize these and had some ideas for a future process. I will take the input this evening because I haven't warned anybody on this, but to streamline this process and make sure everybody is on the same page with if all of the board members are looking for this to be on future agendas, be it at the committee or board level, we'll work on coming together as to what we should do in that process or procedure. But with that being said, since there's been no warning on change, I would ask the board if they have any items for future meetings at this time. All right. Thanks, everybody, for all of their work to check a number of these off of the list and continued progress going forward on that attached running list of the requested items for future meetings and committee meetings as well. The next item is we keep a board decision financial impact summary attached. That way we can, a board member requested that some time ago, just so we know and keep in the front of our mind the decisions that we make and the financial impact that that does have on our district. A reminder that in the morning, tomorrow, Thursday, May 16th at 8:15 a.m., Dr. Sample and myself will be on Blue Jay 730 radio addressing tonight's board meeting and any topics. Future meetings would include School Forest Advisory Meeting on Monday, May 20th at 4 p.m. at the School Forest. Special board meeting on Thursday, May 23rd at 5:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. Facilities Committee meeting on Wednesday, June 5th at 3:30 here in the boardroom. Finance HR Committee meeting immediately following on Wednesday, June 5th at 4:30 in the boardroom. Maple Grove Governance Board meeting for Monday, June 10th at 6:30 p.m. at Maple Grove. The Curriculum Technology Pupil Services Committee meeting on Wednesday, June 12th, 2019 at 4:30 p.m. here in the boardroom. The next regular board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 19, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom. Next on the agenda, I have a contemplated motion to adjourn into executive closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes under section 19.85, paren 1, paren C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Paren F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary considerations of specific personnel problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons except where para B applies, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigation. The purpose of the closed session is to consider an employee's request for a leave of absence. Do we have that motion this evening?
So moved.
Motion by Maria, a second by Jeremy. Can I have a roll call on that, please, Tammy?
Paul Crew.
Aye.
Brett Waller.
Aye.
Jeremy Ratliff.
Aye.
John Smith.
Aye.
Christy Stellingworth. Maria Volpe.
Aye.
Linda Yingling. Aye. Doug Ashbeck.
Aye.
Kevin Blake.
Aye. At this time,